Welcome to the show, Grant Cohn, Jack Hammer. There's breaking news today, in a sense. I mean, if Adam Schefter says something, it's news. And he said today on national television, ESPN, he said, the 49ers want to pay Deebo. They know what it costs to pay a top-level wide receiver. Deebo is the one who scrubbed his Instagram of 49ers content. Deebo is the one who's made known that he wants to move on. Deebo is the one who has put a halt to everything for now. Everyone on the show was like, oh, and then they kind of moved on. I'm kind of like, because I feel like, the Niners aren't going to let Deebo go. Kyle loves him. He's the face of the team, but I guess Deebo's the X factor here. Do you buy the insinuation or the flat out declaration that Deebo doesn't want to sign an extension with this team?
No, I don't buy it. What one of the other part of what Shifter said is that the 49ers are willing to do a deal with Deebo Samuel, and Deebo's the one that doesn't want to do it with them. And the dollars and cents don't back up what Schefter is saying. Even at a $19.25 million signing bonus, which is what the Raiders gave to Devontae Adams, you're starting to get past the 49ers just don't have the money to do it, because if the 49ers were to give him that kind of sign-in bonus on a 5-year deal, that would mean that his cap hit right now would be over the $4.8 million that he has for 2022 already. So the dollars don't match up with what he's saying, unless they're trying to really lowball him, which is part of what we keep hearing. It is a situation where I don't think that Schefter's on the right path here.
So what do you think is the case going on right now?
Well, I just think, Deebo wants his money, and the 49ers aren't there at the point where it needs to be. And so this is a back and forth in a negotiation. And I think it's like what we've talked about. I think we talked about this last week. We're going to know by Friday of next week what the direction of this thing is, where this is headed.
Yeah, because Schefter made it sound like Deebo has burned the bridge, doesn't want to be here anymore, and would like to move on. That's pretty much like, and he's gone as hasn't quite requested a trade yet, but that's what he made it seem like. I don't know if I really buy that. I mean, maybe this is just the 49ers whispering to Schefter, like, hey, like, look, we like Deebo. We're not mad at Deebo. I mean, this is all Deebo. We have no idea where he's coming from. This is very erratic behavior. We can't account for it. He might not want to be on our team anymore, and we have no idea why. We're going to pay him. It's just a process that he doesn't seem willing to go through. Frankly, I don't buy that. I mean, it seems to me that maybe Deebo Samuel is going to, make it dramatic the next few months, but I feel like ultimately he's going to sign a very big contract with the 49ers. Like, he has a good relationship with the head coach. He just had an all-pro season in this offense. Would he really want to leave if the Niners were going to offer him market rate at the deadline? Why?
Right. Why? And I think that's the sticking point. I don't think the 49ers, well, right at this point, the 49ers can't offer him the market rate because they have a quarterback that's not working out with the team, who's taking up $26 million of salary cap or $27 million of salary cap.
Explain that, because I don't understand cap economics at all. If the Niners give Deebo a big signing bonus, his cap number goes up this year.
Yeah. So if like I said, based off of a $19.25 million bonus, and that's the lowest that we've seen among the top wide receivers, right, in terms of a signing bonus.
Right. He can get more.
That has to be spread out over it can be spread out over up to 5 years.
Right.
But he already has some bonus that he's due from his rookie deal. So at that number, he'd be getting $4.8 million just in bonus money for this season. Then you add in some kind of the vet minimum, and that's putting him over where he is currently. And the 49ers don't have the cap space. They have less than $1.5 million in cap at this time. And they still have all of their draft picks assigned and everything like that. So there's going to be movement.
So what you're saying is that the 49ers keeping Jimmy Garoppolo on their roster is inhibiting their ability to give Deebo Samuel what he would require right now.
Correct. That's the thing. That's the reason why they can't give Deebo Samuel. Wow. They can't get the deal done this minute. And I think that's where the issue comes from with Deebo. Is I think Deebo wants his money now. He doesn't want to wait until July.
Right. And then I'm just like, well, we're still trying to trade this guy. We're not going to cut him just yet. Everything I'm reading is that, not reading, but like seeing on reading on Twitter, the blogosphere, people don't even say that anymore, is that Jimmy Garoppolo and Deebo Samuel are totally separate issues, that Jimmy Garoppolo being on the roster does not affect Deebo because Deebo's extension kicks in down the line. What you're saying right now sounds right and is very interesting. Like, actually, in a sense, for right now, and it could get rid of Jimmy tomorrow, but until they do, they can't give Deebo Samuel an extension that he's gonna find suitable.
Yeah, and I was one of those people who earlier on in the process was saying what you just said, was that it doesn't matter. Jimmy Garoppolo is a separate item from Deebo
Right.
Samuel, but at
Right.
the point where the wide receiver market has gotten to now, it is a hindrance because they'd have to go below even what the market rate is right now for really with the signing bonuses in order to get it done. So I don't think it's going to happen.
Well,
Now it'll happen later, I think.
That is fascinating. And you know what's so great about this whole process? The reason the wide receiver market is so messed up, Trent Baalke. Trent Baalke gave Christian Kirk $18 million a year. And now the whole league is like, oh, are you kidding me? And Trent Baalke's like, ha ha, sorry. I think it's pretty funny. He's like, from his perspective, it's like, if I just give Christian Kirk $18 million, that'll seem like a bargain in 12 months. Look at what everyone else is going to have to pay. Maybe I don't know. I just think it's really funny that he did this to the whole league. Thank you.
That definitely does seem to be kind of the catalyst to it. I mean, we're also seeing it with other positions as well, but it definitely seems to be what's really kicked off this wide receiver market. That's for sure.
Yep. All right, we're gonna move on. I just want to point out that I'm also watching our show as we do the show. I've never seen the show on the phone, but now I see what all the little emojis are, because you can't see the emojis on a laptop. They just don't. They just like write what the code is. So now I see the codes. I'm watching the show as I'm on the show. No one's ever done that before. All right.
There you go.
All right. Moving on. Follow-up topic, and this is again something I've seen a lot on Twitter. Deebo Samuel. He never had a problem when Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback. He never held out. He never had it. Is it possible that Deebo Samuel causing a stink is partially or primarily because he's not excited about this quarterback change and he doesn't want to play with Trey Lance? You've seen this on Twitter, haven't you?
I haven't seen it. This is actually the first time that I've heard really where it's about not wanting to play with Trey Lance, and that's kind of why I'm trying not to laugh, because I think it's kind of I think it's a funny one. Well, all you have to do is go back to the preseason, and I think it was the Raider game in the preseason where they had him mic'd up, and Deebo was talking to Trey about how everybody's going to learn about Trey today, and all those kind of things. So I don't buy that at all. I think Deebo Samuel wants to play with Trey Lance. Trey Lance is going to make him a lot of money. I think that's the way that Deebo Samuel should be looking at that.
I would think so too. I mean, I could see why people would go down this conspiracy theory road. It's like, look, Deebo gets a lot of targets from Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't physically get the ball to Brandon Ayuk. Like, that's his guy. You don't really know how this is going to. Trey Lance throws a much less catchable pass than Jimmy. I don't know if you could see the logic going that direction, but I think it's probably more like correlation, not causation. I've heard those mics up too. I feel like also I think it was the Seattle game or one of the games. You could hear Deebo telling him beforehand, like, we're going to show him today. And then after he caught some long touchdown pass, he ran over. I told you you could do it. I told you.
Yeah. Then that would have been that probably was that was probably the Seattle game or the Houston game. One of those two.
One of the home games. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't buy this at all. I think Deebo definitely wants to play with Trey Lance. He's going to take over, I think, if he has Lance at quarterback.
I would think so too. And let's talk about, I have a bonus topic.
Sure.
I didn't tell you about it, but I think that makes it even better. Keep you on your toes. Let's say Deebo Samuel doesn't force himself off the team. Something stupid doesn't happen. The Niners work this out, and he's on the team this year, either with an extension or on his current deal, probably on an extension. How do you think the 49ers will use him this year? And my question is sort of like a split breakdown. I could go first. Sort of like last year, let's get his numbers up. Let's do it first, just so we have a baseline. Best year of his career. All-pro season. He had stats, catches, carries. Okay, so he had 121 targets. This is usage in 16 games, and he had 59 rushes. I'm saying I'd like him to have 10 targets a game, so that would put him from 120 to more like 170. I'd like him to get 170 targets this season and dial those runs back from 60 to 35. I mean, that's kind of how I'd like to see him use this year. Although they tried to use him that way for the first half of last year and they lost a lot. So I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think the right track. I think that's the direction they'd like to go. I don't know if it'd be quite up to 10 because that's where it might be little bit lower than that because I think we're going to see Ayuk maybe get a couple more targets. But if he's still in that 8 to 10 range, that's, I think, perfect.
Yeah.
He's not going to have to be running so many shallow routes. He's going to actually be able to get a bit deeper and be used on some more shot plays than he has in the past. So I think those numbers you put together are right about where they should be. About 160, 170 targets, 35 carries sounds a little high, but about right probably for a guy that can do what he does with the ball in his hands.
The reason I say so much is like, to me, the reason Cooper Kupp got all the accolades last year is he just got a ton of targets. He got 190 targets in 17 games. And great. I mean, he's that good. Why would you? I think he got like 25% of the targets in his office or something crazy like that. I mean, Deebo Samuel's every bit as good. Every time you don't give him the ball, I feel like you let the defense off the hook. Obviously, you don't want to burn out Deebo Samuel in the regular season, so there's a fine line there. But if Cooper Kupp can handle 11 and a half targets a game or whatever he got last year, I think Deebo Samuel has earned to be in the ballpark. And if it comes at the expense of some targets for like Jauan Jennings or, Kyle Juszczyk, well then I guess so be it. Okay, sorry, Jauan. We'll get back to you. Don't call us. We'll call you when we need you. I mean, I'm just saying it's Deebo. Did I lose you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you look at what Deebo did last year, when in the first half of the year, when they were averaging 10 targets a game to him, he had, I think, 4 or 5 games over 100 yards, a couple monster games, and then his targets went down. And then the Tennessee game, all of a sudden his targets went back up again. And what do you know? His numbers were through the roof again. So this is a guy who, I've heard way too much about Deebo Samuel and having one good season. I'm a little tired of that because I think that's the worst take that I've seen on Twitter.
I agree.
And I keep hearing over and over again, whether it's Twitter or on television, is that he only had one good season. That's wrong.
The one thing the way he could take his game to the next level or like just have no weaknesses. When they were using him as primarily a wide receiver the first half of the year, giving him 10 targets a game, I think he was leading the league in drops. Yep, so it's going to get even harder to catch the ball now with Trey Lance. I mean, that's on you, Deebo. Catch the ball. If you could not lead the league in drops, you could definitely go for 18, 19, 100 yards receiving in a 17-game season. You could do it. I think you could.
Yeah, no, that was definitely the issue. I know I kept tracking it. People were getting mad at me over the first half of the year because he was dropping. He had quite a few drops over the first half, and it was really after the second half was much better, but his targets were lower too.
Brian J says, sounds like Deebo is as good as gone. Relax. Hold on. You really think the Niners are going to let him? He would have to sit out. I don't think they're going to trade him. It seems to me that this is just drama for the offseason. This is speculation on Adam Schefter's part. It seems like the Niners are trying to say like, hey, we're not mad. We like him. And we just don't understand where Deebo's coming from. I don't think he's as good as gone. Do you think he's as good as gone?
No, I don't think he's as good. I mean, if the 49ers decide to move off of him, this is a monumental mistake. I mean, even I was listening to an interview with Trey Lance from earlier in the offseason, right before the Super Bowl. And when they were talking, one of the things that he was asked was, what does he expect next season to be like? And he was talking about all the receivers that he has and the wide back and everything like that. So he definitely is expecting to play with Deebo Samuel. And I think the 49ers want him to be with Deebo Samuel because they know that that's one of his best weapons.
Yeah, it's like if the season that Patrick Mahomes became the starting quarterback, the Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill. Like, you know what? We don't really think that would help for Patrick Mahomes. We don't think he needs that.
No, he definitely needs it, and it'll be, like I said, we'll know by probably by end of day Friday for sure, but I think it might even be sooner than that.
I just posted in the chat box a link to the clip on whatever ESPN show it was of Adam Schefter saying what he said, because some people saying is this clickbait. No, he really said this. So if you don't believe me, the link is in the thing. You can watch it, but watch it later. Keep watching the show because we're still talking. Tommy says you want Deebo for the price is 4 firsts.
That's right.
I don't know. Maybe. Do you think the price is the 10th pick from the Jets? I don't know if the Jets would give it up.
The only way that if I'm the 49ers, the only way I move off of I move Deebo Samuel is if I'm getting 2 first-round picks in this draft back. The Jets
Right.
seem to be one of the main teams, and so it would have to be like, I think, what is it, the 6 and 10 pick? That's the only way that I would move him.
Fourth and 10.
Okay,
All
4th
right.
and 10, yeah.
That's enough, Deebo. He's going to be on the team. Enough. He's gotten so much manufactured press that's for nothing. Okay, moving on. Eric Branch, San Francisco Chronicle. Good reporting. Has a source. I wonder who it could be, who says Alex Mack hasn't decided if he's going to play this season. The Niners have said he's leaning towards it. He's most likely going to play. They think he's going to play. He doesn't know. Hasn't made up his mind. It's pretty freaking late in the process. I think he pretty much has to tell the Niners by the time the draft rolls around, so they could potentially bring in his replacement. So my question is, I mean, don't predict what's going to happen. We don't know. We'll find out. If he retires, do you think the 49ers will draft a center in round 2 with their first pick?
I don't think so. I don't think they'll draft a center at 61. There's a big gap there in between the top guy and that spot. And unless they trade up to get Linderbaum, I don't see them getting going after center in round 2. There's plenty of decent centers that can go after that. There's Donovan West out of ASU,
Later,
Arizona
yeah.
State. There's Luke Fortner from Kentucky, Cole Strange from Chattanooga. All those guys are kind of in that 60 to 100 range in terms of their ranking. And then you look at the 2 guys that we know that they've met with it. That's Cam Jurgens out of Nebraska and Jason Poe from Mercer. Those are 2 guys that are going to be later on in the draft as well. So I don't think we're going to see center be the top pick for the 49ers, even though it's a need.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that like if they don't have Alex Mack, they could go sign a starting center. But they've been real careful about signing. Like I've noticed most of their big signs have been very young players. Ray's 25, Travarius Ward is 25. Maybe they'll get some vet, but I think the whole idea is to get younger players to like grow with Trey Lance. So I'm not sure the Niners, I mean, they don't have any cap space, as you pointed out. If they created cap space, it would have to go to other draft picks and a Deebo Samuel signing bonus. So I think if they're thinking we need to replace a starting center with a draft pick, you really want to wait till round 3? That's ambitious. I mean, this team isn't that even great at drafting in round 2. Aaron Banks was like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, if they really want a starting center, you might not want to wait much longer than 61. And I know you pointed out it's not a great spot to take a center. I totally agree with that. Doesn't mean they won't reach and say, hey, he was the guy we wanted all. That's what they did with Aaron Banks last year. Everyone was like, 4th round prospect, Aaron Banks. They're like, no. We love him. Don't worry about it. Offensive line, Notre Dame, great player. That's the way it went down. So I don't know. It seems to me that they could take someone like Cam Jurgens and say, hey, we had a 2nd round grade on him. He was going to go.
We had to take him. We'll see. I don't know. I'm based, just based off of the visits and things that they have. I don't see them taking a center that earlier. They have a starting center on the roster already. They have Daniel Brunskill. He signed today, so they've got him coming back. He started 8 games in 2020. I know you're big Daniel Brunskill fan.
I don't dislike Daniel Brunskill. I was just giving you like,
no, but I mean, he's
bad. He's not a bad player.
If he's starting all year long, it's one thing. It's not the yo-yo job that they did in 20 between him and Grassu and Garland, right? But it's not directly what you want either. I think in some ways maybe that's the direction they're already taking, and that's why you heard, you've heard about Jalen Moore and Banks being starters, this upcoming season, because maybe Brunskill is going to have to slide inside, and they already know that. Well, I can slide more. I mean, we know that that's kind of worst case scenario, but that's where this rookie that they're going to pick comes into play, and how quickly can he contend?
It does seem to me that like it's really tough for young players to play for the 49ers. Like on offense, it's such a complicated offense. So the center, you're just going to step in and be the Niners center. Like it's a big offense, man. Like you really got that. It seems like Jauan Jennings, it took him a year and a half to get a foothold. Aaron Banks, Jalen Moore basically were redshirted. Running backs can have success right away, but Trey Lance was redshirted. It seems like maybe it's Kyle's overly cautious, but it seems like if he had his preference with the offensive players, he would like them to like take a year to just study his scheme. I don't know.
I don't know. Weston Richburg was able to come in and start right away. I just think it depends on the player. And if it's
Yeah,
as far as a rookie, yes, I agree with
yeah,
you on that. I think that's the
yeah,
case because
yeah.
the other one I was gonna say was Lakin Tomlinson started right away too.
Right, right.
He's
The
not a
rookie.
center. He's not the one.
Yeah,
Center's different because you're like the quarterback. You've got to be making the call, so it's a little bit
yeah,
different.
yeah. So I can see what you're saying. Maybe if they need a starting center, maybe Kyle would trust Daniel Brunskill more than he would trust the best center available at 61, Cam Jurgens. I can see that. I can see that,
Sure.
and just say, we took 2 guards last year. Let's have them. Let's take another guard. I don't know. Have them compete with Colton McKiffett. Something.
Yeah, and it's even the situation where they bring him in and maybe they don't even expect to have whoever it is that's already on the roster start the full season. It's just going to be halfway, and then they expect the kid to be able to step in and take him the rest of the way.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Shivnor says, off topic, everyone seems excited about Trey Lance except the 49ers. i.e. Trey bootlegged Deebo had fans excited before ball left his hands. It feels like the Niners have, if they have excitement, they're telling themselves they can't express it because they think it will inhibit their ability to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know. I think they're just going to end up sort of paying the Panthers to take Jimmy off their hands, if you know what I mean. It's like, hey, we want the best draft pick next year possible. We'll pay most of his salary because we don't care.
Yeah, we'll pay half of his salary or whatever it is.
3/4, whatever.
Yeah,
like
whatever it is to get off.
We're gonna buy this draft pick from you so we can tell fans like, yeah, we got a conditional third next year. And a lot of people will be like, it was all worth it.
Yeah, exactly. That's how they'll spin it, right?
It was all worth it, man. All right. Let's do some accounting real quick, some business. Daniel Brunskill signed his restricted free agent tender. Like, it's not like there was suspense here. I don't know why he waited. Whatever. He signed it. And now he's here. He's going to make like $2.2 million this year. And as you pointed out, well, what's interesting is he was a starting guard the last couple of seasons. He's a solid starting guard. But if Alex Mack retires, he might become the 49ers starting center. Instead, he's a very important player for someone who's making $2.2 million and isn't really looked at as an asset.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's a good low cost signing for the 49ers, and yeah, if they do lose Alex Mack, it makes sense that it's going to be Brunskill because even though they have Brendel only played 6 snaps there last year total all year long, so it makes more sense. It would make more sense to see Brunskill sliding in there to that center spot, and he's played all across the line of scrimmage. He started the last 31 games for the 49ers, or 33, excuse me.
Yes, and he's had a lot of reps at center in the offseason. Like Weston Rich, when he was gone, when Weston Richburg was gone, Brunskill would take reps there when Ben Garland was hurt. So he's had experience, and I feel like if you gave him the entire offseason to do it, he could be worse than Alex Mack. I mean, Alex Mack, like, he's old. He's not the Alex Mack he used to be. He wasn't super great. I know he was a Pro Bowler last year, but to me, he was decent. Daniel Brunskill's decent. I think he could pretty much. I think he could do the job. I don't know.
I think he can too. When you watch, I mean, Alex Mack got eaten up by solid defensive line play by especially by the Packers both times they played him.
Yeah,
that Kenny Clark's a heck of a defensive tackle, but he ate him up. And I can see where Brunskill. I don't think there's a big drop off between the two. There might be a little bit, but not as big as some people might think.
Right. So what's interesting about this too is usually when the Niners take a player like to restricted free agency, another guy would be like Kendrick Bourne, Azeez Al-Shaair. It means usually that he's not coming back the year after. This is probably the last year Daniel Brunskill is here, unless he has even if he has an all-pro year. I mean, all-pro interior offensive lineman. This is probably it. And the Niners like him because he'll add to the comp pick formula next year, right? He'll leave. They'll get some comp picks for him. Get condition 3rd, maybe 4th.
Yeah, they don't pay big money for those interior offensive linemen, and so no, you're right. I could see them running through him and then bringing in the rookie or whoever, another young guy to replace him.
So one way or another, the Niners, Daniel Brunskill is the center this year. They're probably going to need a new center next year. And if Kyle's a little, old-fashioned about rookies being able to step in, maybe you draft a guy this year and develop him. And in that case, you don't have to take him in round 2. Maybe you could take him in round 3 or 4.
Yeah, and I think that's where we're going to see him. I think you're going to see him in round 3. It seems to be the kind of a sweet spot there. In round 3 at that pick at 90 what's it, 93? Mm-hmm. I think West will be there. Fortner will be there. Strange might be there as well. So that's 3 of them. And then you get into rounds 4 and 5 and beyond. That's where the two that they've met with come into play.
Okay. Trey Lance says, "Hey yo, what the fuck, Deebo?" Good question.
I don't know. I'm high. Gee, I didn't
Hey
realize that
yo,
Trey talked.
what the fuck?
I didn't think Trey talked that way. He seemed like
I
a
don't think he
much more
does.
mild
I don't
mannered
think he does.
guy.
He's very religious. I don't think he does. But maybe on the social media, maybe social media brings it out in him.
Yeah.
He's been hanging out with Brandon Ayuk a lot recently. I saw him looking at their phones.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk, and he's been texting with George Kittle, so who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, Trey. I'll try to get to the bottom of it. Danker D says, "Will Niner fans realize a huge factor in Deebo's success is the undersized linebacker in today's game that Kyle's exploiting? Ray will add to this." I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, I don't think Ray McCloud is going to really add a whole lot to it. But yeah, I mean, when you compare him to Deebo Samuel, they're not even in the same ballpark as far as their abilities. Let's go back to really even thinking that Deebo's success is going to Ray McCloud can even come close to what Deebo does is just mind blowing to me. I know we both have talked about
Ray
how good
said it. He was like, "You see what Deebo does? I can do that." I was like, "Oh, okay,
okay."
nice.
That's even more more funny.
Interesting. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Well, good luck, Ray. You know he's younger than Deebo. Didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Did you know he went to Clemson? I don't remember him at Clemson.
No, I don't. I didn't know that he went. I didn't know where he went. I just know of him as from his time in Pittsburgh.
All right, another guy, Jauan Jennings, signed his restricted tender, exclusive rights tender, I believe it was. He was holding out for a while. I don't know what he's holding out for. He's thinking about it. Looking out the window, thinking about life. Signed it. Now he's going to be playing for like $800,000. That's a bargain too, because down the stretch last year, he was really important. I mean, when the Niners had these like moments where they were losing and the season was on the line, they needed these like key drives. He was usually the guy who caught the touchdown pass at the end of it. Am I wrong? I mean, I feel like it was the Rams and the Cincinnati. He did it a bunch of times. He was wide open. It wasn't that he was great. It was just that everyone else was like, "Oh, we got a double Deebo and Kittle and Ayuk," and he was just wide. I know you can't double 3 people, but anyway, Jauan Jennings coming back. What do you think? How important is he to the offense?
No, he's a really good number 3 receiver. Like you said, he's wide open, and he mentions a bunch of games. There was the touchdown against I think it was Philadelphia, right? I think he's the one that scored the touchdown right before half to give him the lead in that game. Jennings is a guy who didn't make a bunch of plays, like volume, but the plays that he did make were big. And he's a growing receiver. He had a really nice reception in the NFC Championship game and to convert a first down, run after catch, and things like that. So he's a really good number 3 target, big guy, strong, and really fits in well with what Kyle Shanahan wants to do. And I think the delay with him was I think they were trying to get maybe a little bit longer term extension done with him, and maybe they still will. Now that this is done, they've got to open up some draft. They got to open up that salary cap in order to get it done, though.
Yeah, I think he's kind of like exactly what Kyle's been looking for in a big slot receiver. He's 6'3". He has long arms, strong hands. He can make tough catches. He's primarily not going to get a lot of yards after the catch because he's not super fast, but he's so hard to tackle. He's so tough and strong. And even though he's not going to like run by like through the defense like Deebo, he might just get you 3-4 extra yards. Like if he catches the ball at the first down marker on 3rd and 8, he's probably going to get across it. You know what I mean? He's tough. I like watching him play. He's good.
Yeah, no, and he is, I think, what like you said, he is what Kyle Shanahan has been trying to find in that third guy. You watch the way he runs routes compared to the guys they had before him, and there's a big difference. He's much more precise and crisp on his routes than those other guys were. And I'm kind of pointing to the guy that's out in Cincinnati right now. I can't remember his name. Trent Taylor. Mm-hmm.
Isn't it interesting how much Kyle Shanahan's like taste or evaluation of wide receivers has changed? I mean, when he first got here, he was bringing in guys like Trent Taylor, Dante Pettis, Richie James Jr., like little guys. Now, like Deebo's 215. Jauan, I mean, these are really, really physical wide receivers. He was much more into speed 5 years ago. Interesting.
Yeah, well, he's still got the speed element, but he's looking for guys with size as well. I think he's kind of trying to, he's realized that those guys were just too small to really be able to make it. And, Jennings just fell into their laps in the 7th round.
It's like if you're going to have a run-first team, maybe some of these wide receivers should be able to play running back because we don't throw that much, and maybe they should be good at blocking because we don't throw that much. I mean, I'm just saying, maybe like Dante Pettis, like, I mean, not that he was even good at any point, but like he really didn't fit this team. By the way, I haven't taken any like cheap shots at Dante Pettis in a long time. I've been restraining myself. Is he still in football? Is he still in the league?
I
No.
don't think he is. I don't think he is. I think he's out there. He thinks he's a stray cat.
Oh. I'm gonna wait. I'm not gonna say anything yet. He has a couple more months to get a contract. But wow, why am I so not surprised he didn't get a second contract? I think he could get one. But man, he thought he was gonna get a second. Anyway, Jimmy Garoppolo didn't show up to OTAs. It's not OTAs. It's the off-season training program. OTAs come. I guess it's the OTAs. Anyway, He's not here in the sense that I'm in Oakland and the Niners play in Santa Clara. He's not there. I don't think anyone's surprised, but I don't know. What's your take?
Yeah, and I don't think anybody should be surprised by it, but I think it's just another clear indication that Garoppolo is still on the team eating up a spot, but he's not going to be a part of the team when July rolls around.
Yeah. And it's not good. As you pointed out earlier, him being on the team is preventing the 49ers from giving Deebo Samuel the signing bonus that is required for a top-level wide receiver. So that's one. That's one problem. And then there's all the symbolic stuff. Like, the Niners can't really name Trey Lance the starter while Jimmy's here. That's not great. And the players on the team can't even really figure out who. I mean, maybe they know, but they can't say it. It's all like this whole mystery, which you don't really want. And if this keeps going, they might have to have like a ceremonial quarterback competition, which probably wouldn't be ideal for either quarterback. I don't know. So
yeah, no, it wouldn't be good at all.
No.
Not at this point. Not at this point. It's one of those things where, I wouldn't be totally against it because it'd be fun to cover it, but I don't think they need to. I think everything that they've done to this point this offseason and everything they've said points to Jimmy Garoppolo not being here. Although they're still saying, oh, we're good having him as the backup, what have you. They're not. I don't think there's no way that they can get to the regular season with him on the roster with his salary cap hit and what they need to do. Especially with, like I said, they can free up money, but I haven't heard anything on Jimmy Ward. I haven't heard anything on Emmanuel Mosley. So I'm starting to question whether those guys are going to be around after this year.
I feel like Jimmy shouldn't ever step foot in that facility ever again. He already said goodbye.
Yeah, I don't think he will. I don't think he ever actually comes back. No.
He said goodbye already. I mean, the idea of him doing his farewell press conference with the writers in February, whatever it was, and then doing another press conference in the offseason, like, hey, I'm back, but I don't want to be, and hopefully I get traded soon. Like, that would be so freaking awkward. So yeah, I mean, they can't let that happen. He's got to go. And I think what we're seeing is maybe the Niners, like if the Panthers don't take a quarterback in round one, maybe the Niners can sort of convince them to let them buy a draft pick. Take Jimmy, we'll buy a draft pick from you. Barring that, I don't see how they get anything for Jimmy. I think it's got to be in the next 2 weeks or less.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the deal with Carolina can be done at any point later on if the Panthers go in a different direction. I don't think it has to be done right away. He can't throw the ball, so there's no reason to really rush until July. He can't. He's a quarterback who can't throw. So you
might want to have him learn your playbook at some point. I mean, he's not the smartest quarterback in the. No offense. No offense. And he did learn the Niners playbook very quickly one time, so I'll take it back. I'm just saying.
It only took him like 5 or 6 weeks, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I miss the playbook. I never had to learn a playbook. Those playbooks are huge.
Well, the thing is, he won't have what the quarterback coach won't be there this time to teach him up. He's going to be at Kentucky.
Gangarello or
he won't have Rich. Well, he won't have Rich. Yeah, he won't have Rich Gangarello to help him out. How
come Brian Hoyer doesn't get any credit for getting him up to speed? Maybe Hoyer was the man. Maybe that's why Hoyer's still in the league. Who knows?
Yep.
What would Eddie D do with Jimmy G? I was talking about this with my dad earlier today. I just don't feel like Eddie in particular would have drawn this out this long. If that's not the quarterback for you, move on. I mean, Eddie went through 3 head coaches in 3 years too, right? Bill Walsh wasn't his first one.
Right. He wasn't the first one. No. But I could see him probably would. There's little to be gained by it unless the 49ers have a trade that's kind of like, been agreed to based off of if this happens, then we're going to take him kind of thing. I don't know why you hold on to him. But that's the only reason that the only thing I can think of.
I don't think Eddie D would have said no to Tom Brady.
No, he would have.
I don't think he would have. And then the next year, I think he would have been more interested in Matthew Stafford than Trey Lance. And maybe the Niners were right to get Trey Lance. Maybe Matthew Stafford has one great season, wins a Super Bowl, falls off. Trey Lance has a glorious Hall of Fame career. But I just feel like Eddie probably would have went for the sure thing.
I think you're right, based off of his track record when he was with the 49ers, and even after the salary cap, they tried to do that a little bit. It wasn't super successful for him, but other than the first year. But I could see him trying to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing. The private indications conversation is so funny to me. Every couple of weeks, someone says, "Hey, I know people are a little worried about Trey Lance, but the Niners privately tell him they really like him. But when no one else is around, they say that he's going to be the starting quarterback. When no one is within earshot, they have his back. But when people are around, they act like they don't know him. What is the private indication? What is that?
I think this whole thing to me is funny, because to me this is just somebody needing to have something get out in the news cycle every once in a while, because it's been repetitive. Trey Lance said it himself between the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl that he expects to be that. Right. Well, he said a couple of things. One, he said that he was not told that he was told that there wouldn't be a quarterback competition. That wasn't the top of a conversation during his exit interview. He wasn't told he was going to be given the job, but he expects it to be. There was a point in that conversation in which he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to be the guy," and then he had to kind of walk it back. Right. You had the head coach come out a couple days ago, about a month ago, and say, "Yeah, when they asked if Trey Lance is ready to play, and he's like, "Yeah, that's why we're trying to trade Jimmy.
We're trying to trade Jimmy Garoppolo." Yep, I like that. Yeah. I appreciated that.
I mean, what else do you really need to do other than just kind of?
My thing is like when Kyle does the like, "Hey man, we're trying to trade Jimmy. That's why we feel like, okay, then name Trey the starter." Like you're not pumping up Jimmy Garoppolo's trade value by like doing this little thing. You're not. Everyone knows Jimmy. Everyone has an opinion of Jimmy. You can't influence it. You tried. The season's over. Stop.
No, and he's he even mentioned it too, right? He never named a quarterback last year as the starter, and so he's going to continue to play this little game throughout the year. Yes, he did.
They always said it was Jimmy's team. It's Jimmy's team. It's Jimmy's team. It's Jimmy's team. They said it over and over and over again. At least maybe I'm tripping.
No, I think you're right in that standpoint that they kind of said it was his team, but when every time he'd be asked as far as who's going to start this week, he wouldn't give an answer.
I don't know. That's true. That is true. He actually took great pleasure in trolling us for months with that once a training camp winner. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're following the news and you're just kind of following this thing, it's whether it's Jeremy Fowler or you or me or anybody else. I mean, we could all come out and give the same. I don't have the cachet of anybody else, but it's all the same thing. Everybody's just saying the same thing. We know he's going to be the starting quarterback. Otherwise, what are we doing here? Brian J says Shanahan's going to trade Deebo to the Jets so Saleh gets to keep his job and the Shanahan tree continues to grow. 200 IQ Shanahan playing Jets. Yeah. My guy's struggling here. Take my best player so I can. No. I really do. Here's the thing. What I think why this is going to work out, a big reason is that Deebo and Kyle seem to have a really tight relationship. I think probably Kyle isn't that involved right now because he's the last line of defense. He's the head coach. It's not his job. But if things go really, really haywire, he can always step in and be like, Parak, give him what he wants. What are we doing here? I mean, he essentially did that last year with Trent Williams. So I don't know. Maybe Deebo's different and he'll just like say, I don't want to play for this franchise anymore. I don't like your fans. I don't like you. I don't like you. You're cool. I don't like you. Or maybe Kyle will be like, look, Deebo's the team. Thanks very much, Parak. I'll take it from here. It could happen. That's what I think will happen. I think you're right. It's going to come down again. If he's here next Thursday night at the end of the night or next Friday at the end of the night, he's going to be a 49er in 2022. They're not going to trade him after the draft for draft picks. I can tell you that.
Okay, before we leave, give me a percentage likelihood that the Niners trade Deebo during the draft.
I think it's less than 25%. I don't think it's 50-50. I've heard some people say that, but I think it's closer to 25.
Yeah, I think it's less than 1% that the Niners trade Deebo Samuel. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, there
Unless
you
you
go.
want to defend Manning.
That's even better. I mean,
Yeah.
I think this guy needs to be on the 49ers. I just do. I mean, I think if these guys trade Deebo Samuel, I mean, it'd be almost a fireable offense, really.
I think so too. And I can't fathom the people that would defend it. It's going to be, but it's not going to happen. But I can already see that, parallel universe where it happens and everyone's like, this is smart. And I'm like, what are we talking about? I don't even root for this team and I'm outraged. All right. Last one. What about Jimmy Garoppolo? Likelihood he gets traded during the draft, or not during? Because you said it could be after, right?
I don't think. Well, I mean, if he's going to if he gets traded during the draft, it'll be after the first round, because I think the only team that's going to trade for him around that time is Carolina, and they're not going to do it until after they make their pick on Thursday night.
See, the Niners need to be careful. They keep waiting, and it seems to me that if you keep waiting, there's always going to be a quarterback who leapfrogs Jimmy Garoppolo. It might not be Baker Mayfield. It could be Kyler Murray. It could be someone else that we didn't even know about that would be on the market. That's essentially what ruined the Niners with the Colts. Sure. They didn't know that Matt Ryan would be on the market. They thought, we got the Colts. We got them where we want them. And then the Colts made out. So I'm just saying, to me, it's never going to be Jimmy. Jimmy's never going to be he's the one. He's the best one available. Let's have – he's never going to be that house in Montclair that gets 10 bids on it. It's just – I'm sorry. I'm only thinking in terms of real estate right now.
No, you're right.
I'm studying for 1 week. He's not going to be that guy. He's the fixer-upper. He's the one with the foundation that's messed up and stairs that are messed up and the roof that's messed up and it's 100 years old and it's that's him. I mean, there's going to be one offer on the house, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. No, I don't even think that Jimmy Garoppolo was the fixer-upper. Jimmy Garoppolo was the flip my house guy. That's who he is, because he's the guy you want to get. You want to pretty him up, and then you want to sell him to somebody else. That's who Jimmy Garoppolo is, because they're not trying.
That's true. Just put in a new kitchen. Don't touch the foundation. Be like, it's good. It's in a good neighborhood. The neighbors are great.
Yeah,
it's charming.
Uh-huh.
It's charming.
Look how nice it looks.
Great leadership.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's got great leadership. Exactly. There you go.
The intangibles are what you're buying here. $3 million. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. In Berkeley.
All right. Well, I've gotten a private indication that the show is coming to a close. Thank you very much to the 49ers for inventing the concept of private indications in sports. All the private indications I've gotten from people who said they were going to hire me, but then didn't. Trey, you better be careful. Private indications mean nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, you got to be careful with these guys. They can be slicksters. I'm telling you.
It's true. You better become really good friends with Kyle the way Deebo is. I think he is, though. They're talking. They text each other, so that's good.
Well, they better get that deal done. That's all I have to say. That's the one that I keep pushing on it, and it's funny. I actually saw somebody brought out the article from last year that I wrote for Sports Illustrated, where I called him a gadget player as a reason to why they shouldn't be giving him the big money.
Hey, man. Well, times change. Things happen. Deebo Samuel proved himself. I mean, can't we react to new evidence? The Niners should.
Yeah, well, here, real quick.
I felt the same way last year. The Niners felt the same way last year.
Yeah, I mean, real quick before we get off, the whole thing with Deebo Samuel, the 1 year thing, I mentioned it earlier. Deebo Samuel last year, you put it up, right? The numbers that he had in year 2 were so close to Jerry Rice in terms of the all-purpose yards, right?
Yeah, they really are.
And go back to what he did in 2019.
His year last year was up there with some of Rice's best years. They really were. You can check it out.
Yeah, and his rookie season, he actually had more touchdowns than Jerry Rice, and he had more yards than Jerry Rice.
Oh, damn. Say it again for the people in the back. What?
Deebo Samuel's rookie year, he had more all-purpose yards and total touchdowns than Jerry Rice had his rookie year in 1985.
But Jerry Rice wasn't good his rookie year.
No, and it's funny because you can't really have this conversation because everybody knows that he was the Hall of Fame Jerry Rice. They don't remember the process that he went through to get there.
I wasn't alive back then, but that's great knowledge. Thank you very much for using that comparison. Yeah, if Deebo Samuel didn't have a good rookie season, then no wide receiver in Niners history has had a good rookie season. Pretty much. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Even though this has got to be the driest period since I've started this channel. I mean, nothing going on. But something's going to happen next week. John Lynch, draft picks, new players. Today we talked about people signing tenders. It was fun. It was real. We kept it real. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back keeping it real in the future.